This is CBN NewsWatch.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I am George Thomas. A new coronavirus relief package passed Congress, bringing nearly $500 billion to help America's economic struggle with COVID-19. The virus has taken more than 49,000 lives, has cost 1 in 6 people their jobs. House lawmakers gathered in Washington for the very first time since March 27th, adopting stricter social distancing guidelines, as you can imagine. The legislation is mostly earmarked for small businesses. Some leaders say it's just a short-term solution as lockdowns continue across the nation and leaders grapple when to lift restrictions, allowing businesses to reopen. President Trump has some tough decisions ahead of him, according to former U.S. Congressman David Brat. He's now the dean of Liberty University School of Business and says he's concerned about the long-term damage from the pandemic on the economy, jobs, and the livelihood of Americans. He joins us now. Sir, good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us. You say the president has tough choices in front of him. What are they?
Straight up through the roof. And the other is less well documented. That's the economic damage is also growing exponentially, straight up off the graph. The unemployment claims used to be 250,000, then 3 million, then 10 million, now 20 million, and 35 million Americans are in at-risk sectors, economic sectors related to the virus. And so the press, the mainstream press, just talks about the virus all day, but abstracts away from the economic damage and makes it sound like there's a simple choice that you can just shut down forever. And of course you can't. And so the mainstream press first went from the hospital bed story, and then that kind of went away. There's capacity. And then they went to the ventilators and, the White House is to blame for this. They've also abstracted on the blame game from China. They're not covering the CCP, the communist regime, that lied about the virus in the first place and won't share data and bleach scrubbed the labs and the fish markets and sent 400,000 Chinese here to the U.S. after they knew they had a pandemic in the early months, January, February, March. And so now finally at the end, the mainstream press just says testing. And as Dr. Fauci said, testing is part of the health regimen we need. You got to have that to better aim your resources at where hotspots might be. But folks are acting like that's going to get rid of the red dots. The mainstream press is that, hey, Trump's been bad on testing, and if you had the testing, we'd be all fine. Absolutely not true.
Yeah,
the red dots are there and the economy's in free fall and the press doesn't offer any solutions. They just critique.
Mr. Brat,
and so that's roughly where we stand right now.
Mr. Brat, you have compared it to all 50 states being hit by a natural disaster at once. Describe that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you just look at the dollar amounts being allocated, right, the $2.3 trillion. This is like every single 50 states declaring a natural disaster and needing that level of resources to get through it, right? And I mean, you can see it most easily. The federal government called, all the health experts called for a total lockdown for at least a month. And so we voluntarily shut down the economy in total. And no natural disaster has ever done that, for just shut down an entire state, much less the country, in its entirety. And so that's the damage we're coming. And if you're a small business person, they're all communicating very clearly. If they lose sales and revenues, you can't just flick a switch on and get that, turned on the next day. Some of your workers may leave for other opportunities. Some may just go on unemployment insurance and give up. And then we have all the collateral damage. The sociological evidence shows 20 years from now, if you're displaced, you'll have 20% lower wages 20 years from now. So just massive damage coming at us.
Yeah, that sure is. Mr. Brat, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. I appreciate it. Former U.S. Congressman from Virginia and Dean of the Liberty School of Business. Thanks again for your insights. You're welcome. About 200 drugs are being considered as possible treatments for the virus. One stands out is a drug that was originally developed to treat HIV. CBN's medical reporter, Lori Johnson, now joins us to talk more about this. Laura, I'm curious, why are so many of the promising drugs for COVID-19 ones that were made for something else?
Simply because of time, George. Yeah. It takes years to develop a drug from scratch, and we need these COVID-19 drugs now. So doctors and scientists are taking a closer look at drugs that already exist to see if they might work, talking about drugs like the malaria drug, hydroxychloroquine, remdesivir, and Ebola drug, and leronlimab for HIV. Yesterday, I spoke with the CEO of Cytidine, the company that makes leronlimab. He said one of the first COVID-19 patients to try the drug was actually on a ventilator, and soon after being given leronlimab, he felt alert, energetic, and actually pulled out his breathing tube and started breathing on his own. Since then, about 40 other coronavirus patients have been given the drug. Some of the ones in critical condition were off oxygen within 24 hours and discharged within days. Listen.
If we can stop the death, this is just the flu. It won't do anything. The whole country can be reopened and everybody's going to be safe if this works the way we think. So I'm putting a big if over here because I don't want people to think I'm trying to say it's working for everybody. So far, results have been tremendously positive.
Leronlimab is designed to fight the so-called cytokine storm we've been hearing so much about. Cytokines are released by immune system cells and can trigger massive inflammation in the lungs, even to the point of death. And so, George, it seems strange because oftentimes we talk about how we want our immune system to work really hard for us.
Sure.
But in some COVID-19 patients, the immune system actually works too hard. It goes into overdrive, which can be a very dangerous situation. So it looks like this drug might be able to calm that cytokine storm and regulate the immune system.
Is this particular drug being tested right now?
Right now, there are 2 tests. Patients are being enrolled in 2 different clinical trials, one for people who have moderate cases of COVID-19, and then another trial for patients who have a more severe form. So we look forward to the results of those clinical trials soon.
I'm curious, how can COVID-19 patients and their doctors get this particular drug?
Well, patients can ask their doctor to check into it and prescribe it to them, and doctors who are interested can do it. Right now, it has been approved by the FDA for an emergency use basis, so doctors have to check with the FDA first before prescribing it to the patient. But soon, it looks like the FDA may approve it for compassionate use basis, which means doctors don't need to check with the FDA first.
And there's some reporting about the whole idea that heat and the sunlight and all of this can potentially impact how the virus survives or dies. Talk quickly about that.
Yay, summer!
Good
this
news,
is something that we just learned yesterday, although scientists and doctors have suspected this since the very beginning, because we've seen it with other viruses, that ultraviolet light, the light that comes from sun, and also humidity, heat and humidity can kill the virus. And yesterday, Homeland Security released the results of their actual studies on the COVID-19 virus and said, yes, that is exactly true.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
On to other news. Several ministries around the world are uniting to fight the coronavirus pandemic with Prayer-demic. Francina Norman Ministries organized the worldwide prayer effort after seeing the ongoing impact of the COVID-19 crisis. Take a listen.
Instead of pandemic, we call it prayer-demic, where we're going to bombard heaven with prayers, and we believe that we're going to experience a great move of God. I believe it is God's mission and heart to allow trusted voices from all over the world to unite with one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to speak the truth of God's word concerning the pandemic and allow the hearts of the people to be encouraged and unite in faith without fear.
That's fantastic. It's called Helping Hands Around the World and can be seen on Francina's YouTube channel and Facebook page starting at noon Eastern. Coming up, promising news out of Israel regarding COVID-19 treatments and what one expert thinks about the virus running its course. That story, don't go away. We're right back after this.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back to the CBN News Channel. Israeli researchers say they have got treatment that targets COVID-19's greatest weakness. Chris Mitchell, my man, joins me from Israel with the latest. Chris, tell us about this research and treatment for the coronavirus.
Well, George, thanks for joining. Great to be with you, too. And there's a whole lot of research going on right now around Israel. This one comes out of Tel Aviv University. They've been working on the coronaviruses for about 15 years. When they got the information about the genome from China, they automatically began working on their own vaccine. Now, it specifically targets the protein structure of the COVID-19. Now, the COVID-19 actually attacks cells through the RBM. That's one of the code names, just an analogy for what happens there, and attacks the cells. And they also have a U.S. patent right now. But the sort of sad news, distressing news, it won't be ready for about a year and a half, as if in many of these other vaccines. But just part of all the research that's going on here in Israel on COVID-19.
Chris, tell us about the new private investment in an Israeli company that's working on this new vaccine, rather.
Well, it's another vaccine, George, but the company that's investing is called Our Crowd. It's an investment organization here that takes all these innovations in Israel and brings investors. They actually marry investors from around the world to all the innovation going on. And right now they're investing in a place called Migal Research Institute. CBN News actually did a story on that several weeks ago. They've created a new company called MigVax. And the idea behind this is they want to fund this company that's working on another vaccine, just like Tel Aviv University. This company has been working on a vaccine for poultry for about 4 years. And they're going to come up. And the good news they say about this, it's going to be an oral vaccine that anybody can use. It will work all over the world. And one thing they say is it doesn't have to use live or dead viruses. And they consider that an advantage. And they also say that it's going to be useful to combat future pandemics. So this is just one partnership of investment companies here in Israel and the state-of-the-art research going on as well, hopefully to bring some solution to this coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah, let's switch gears from pandemic to politics. Tell us about the unity government that was formed in Israel this week.
Well, George, it only took more than a year and 3 elections, and Israelis are relieved that finally Benny Gantz and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu have a unity agreement right now. It's going to be for 36 months. Netanyahu's first going to serve as Prime Minister, and after 18 months, they're going to switch roles, and then Benny Gantz will become Prime Minister. Netanyahu will go ahead and become Deputy Prime Minister. For the first 6 months of this government, they're focusing on COVID-19, not any other major legislation. But in the 14-page unity agreement, the language is to protect Netanyahu from Gantz and Gantz from Netanyahu. So still there's a measure of distrust. But at least Israelis have a unity government right now for the first time in well over a year.
Chris, you are the handsome and fantastic host of this amazing show called Jerusalem Dateline right here on the CBN News Channel. What is coming up this week, man?
Well, we're excited about it, George. We're going to talk about the San Remo Resolution. 100 years ago tomorrow, world leaders met, and they actually laid the foundation of in international law for the foundation of the modern state of Israel. We're going to have Sid Roth of It's Supernatural talking about what prophets are saying about COVID-19. And also, we're going to be remembering the Holocaust. Just a few days ago was Holocaust Remembrance Day, and we'll be talking about that as well. We're looking forward to a great show, George. You got to watch.
All right, man. Chris, my handsome devil friend, you lovely. All right, buddy. Thank you so much. As always, you can catch his awesome show, Jerusalem Dateline, on the CBN News Channel tonight with Chris at 9:30 Eastern, right here on the CBN News Channel. Folks, we'll be back right after this.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
In ministering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back to the CBN News Channel. Several churches and pastors are finding themselves in trouble with the law, with state lockdowns and social distancing mandates. Our Mark Martin spoke with radio host Todd Starnes for an update on some of the cases that are making headlines around the country.
Todd, bring us up to date on the story out of Greenville, Mississippi, where church members were fined for holding an outdoor drive-in service on Easter.
Yeah, that's right. This was a small independent Baptist church. Most of the members were, in fact, elderly, and they don't know how to use smartphones. They don't know how to use all the modern gadgets and gizmos. So the pastor said, you know what? We're going to have church. We'll practice social distancing. Everybody come to the parking lot, stay in your cars, and we'll do a service that way. And they broadcast it over an FM frequency. Well, the mayor of Greenville, Mississippi, as everyone now knows, sent the police in. They raided the parking lot. Every person there received a $500 fine. Now, the good news is that those fines have now been rescinded. and lawsuits have been filed, federal lawsuits have been filed, and that mayor is quite frankly in a bit of hot water for quite frankly violating the civil rights of those Christians.
Now, there are several crackdowns like this in several states. Are law enforcement easing up at all? I mean, you're reporting on your website that Attorney General William Barr and Senator Mitch McConnell have even weighed in on this. Break it down for us.
That's right. And this is a very big deal that the Attorney General has weighed in on this situation in Greenville, Mississippi. But by and large, these egregious attacks on religious liberty across the country, you mentioned that they are ongoing. Yes, that was Easter Sunday. But just a few days ago, there was another attack on Christians in New Jersey. The video of that shows police officers actually interrupting the service to let them know that they had received complaints that the church was not social distancing in the parking lot. So these attacks are happening across the nation, predominantly in states that are run by or cities that are run by Democrats. And it appears to me that these lawmakers are using the virus as an excuse to target Christians.
What's going on in California now where churches were told they can't sing while recording streaming services? What's that all about?
Oh my goodness. This is just bizarre, but it's really true. So what is it they told us? Well, you can't practice corporate worship, but you can worship online. So a lot of churches have done just that. They've moved their services online. But you're right, there was one community in California, and they actually told people, you cannot have a worship band perform during your online service because they might possibly infect someone when they sing by breathing on another worshiper. But it goes beyond that, and we had this story up on our website, toddstearns.com. There's a guy down in Southern California, he in the Anaheim area, and he was loading his Sunday school lessons for 5th and 6th graders onto YouTube. And the Sunday lesson was about John the Baptist. It turns out YouTube removed the video. They blocked the video because they said it was inappropriate content. So now we have another big question. They told us we had to move our services online. But what happens when big tech comes in and says, yeah, you can't do that anymore?
Wow. Well, even despite all these crackdowns, churches are still showing their desire to serve people. Tell us about that church in Georgia, I guess, paying more than $1 million in medical bills for people in their community. That's awesome.
Oh, it really is. And what a wonderful opportunity for Christians to be good Samaritans and minister in their communities, which is what we are called to do. And it's so exciting to see so many churches across the country that are standing in the gap. A church out of Ackworth, Georgia, which is just north of Atlanta, they're partnering together with a ministry that actually helps pay medical bills for people who don't have any money. They raised $1.6 million to do that. Again, it's a testament to the body of Christ stepping up and taking action in a time of need.
That's right, and taking action even in the face of persecution. Todd Stearns, thanks for bringing us these stories. We appreciate it.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Welcome back to the CBN News Channel. One Georgia megachurch pastor is going to his basement to spread the gospel. This radical party approach comes complete with a secular DJ and dancing. He calls it the next level of evangelism to reach the lost. As CBN's Eric Phillips reports, it's meeting a real need in these pandemic stay safe at home days.
Pastor Jamal Bryant says his regular services usually draw around 70,000 people online, but his first basement party saw 168,000 tuning in. He says challenging times call for challenging measures.
Would you point at somebody else randomly across the sanctuary and shout, "Bless you"? I'm speaking that over your respiratory system.
This is the usual setting people saw when tuning in for services from Senior Pastor Jamal Bryant of Atlanta's megachurch New Birth. Starting a couple of weeks ago, he opted for a different pulpit.
Whoa! I can't take it!
This one in a basement with a DJ playing hip-hop, R&B, and rap music, targeting the unchurched and unsaved through social media.
DJ, I need you to keep that right there. I need that for a solid 2 minutes. Don't mess with it. It's radical times. Literally, church has left the building. Jesus supped with sinners and publicans and tax collectors. And in this hour, the church is going to have to stop preaching to itself and really go out into the hedges and highways.
While many across the country are under stay-at-home orders, Bryant saw this as an opportune time to offer Christ to a captive audience. But first, he had to attract them.
It was the classic military strategy of the Trojan horse. I claim it came in something that they knew that would bring their guard down. And then once I got into the city, the soldiers of intercession began to unleash all that we needed to do. Lord, thank you for dying for a sinner like me. And for the rest of my life, I'll tell anybody, anywhere, at any time, that I'm saved, I'm saved, I'm saved. And our portal crashed from all the people trying to accept Jesus at the exact same time.
Still, Bryant says he has been criticized for his method.
I was saddened by the response of church people who were so vicious in their attack without understanding the motive. Jesus said, leave the 99 and go after the one. And so I'm following that biblical model that I'm willing to risk it all.
Bryant says the Sunday following his first basement party saw 147 people join the church online. He's now hired a full-time internet pastor to disciple those who will only attend online. He says despite the criticism, he's already had a second basement jam with more to come. Eric Phillips, CBN News.
Goodbye, everyone.